Over the past few weeks, we've had various bits of news when it comes to Wrath of the Lich King Classic, and lots of changes that some of us wasn't expecting, or additional systems that we just wouldn't have dreamt would ever make it into the game. And we've got another change. And this change is actually really good. There's not a single person that will see this that will go, no, I don't like it. I don't mean you're not going to click dislike on the video because can't really control that. But the change itself is actually really sensible. So this blue post went out about 15 minutes ago before I started recording. So Blizzard have said, greetings, we've been working on getting the raids in Wrath of the Lich King Classic ready in these past weeks and wanted to touch on a few systematic adjustments we plan to make in raids in Wrath of the Lich King Classic. It's a good job that they're not making changes in raids in something else that's not Wrath of the Lich King when it's a Wrath of the Lich King post. So buff audit system. One interesting quirk of the original Wrath of the Lich King dual spec system was that certain buffs could be gained or snapshotted at a larger magnitude in one specialization, and then in some situations retained after swapping talents to a second save spec. So this could be something like Thorns. You could buff yourself with improved Thorns from Brambles, for example, and then respec, and you've got the stronger Thorns on you still. Just an example. While in many cases authentic, this has been pointed out to us as a bug multiple times during beta, and we agree that this is undoubtedly would have been something we would have tried to fix in 2009. As a result, we're implementing a system that checks all talents and abilities at certain times and will clear or reduce the magnitude of buffs that either should not be present in your current group or are too powerful based on your current specialization. That's interesting. Well, when I say interesting, it's good, and it's good that they're looking and going, well, actually, yes, it may have worked like that in the past, but doesn't make sense. So yes, Blizzard, another sensible change. This is very complicated under the hood, but the general effect is that players can no longer expect to snapshot more powerful buffs when swapping specs around before an encounter, or retaining buffs that their raid group should otherwise not have access to in its current composition. One specific thing to call out with this fix, though, is this will not interfere with interactions such as buff high fives that happen when, say, a mage and a priest pass each other on the road and give each other arcane intellect and power word fortitude respectively. Single target buffs that don't require players to be in a group with each other will be unaffected outside of instances to preserve these uniquely classic interactions. Again, nothing really negative to say there. It makes sense. It's really good. I mean, yeah, that would have been a bit of a bummer if you could no longer run past and buff people because it would say, like, the target doesn't meet the requirements to receive this buff or something. But actually, overall, makes sense. So long cooldowns. One of the more arduous things that we've gotten feedback on, and indeed many members of our own team experienced ourselves during progression in raids such as Sunwell Plateau, was dealing with long cooldowns on certain abilities after wipes. In situations where a wipe would occur early in a fight such as Muru, many raids would often find themselves waiting around for several minutes for buffs such as Bloodlust or Heroism to come off cooldown so it was available for the next attempt. This didn't feel particularly engaging and could have a very negative effect on motivation and morale during progression raid nights. In later versions of World of Warcraft, this problem was solved with a system that allows long cooldowns to refresh after an encounter ends. And while we want to take care about any modern features and systems we include in WoW Classic, we also recognise that there's very little value in having to wait for multiple minutes after your raid is resurrected, run back, and is fully buffed for an arbitrary cooldown on abilities to be confident that you can perform properly. As a result, we are going to be implementing a similar system in Wrath of the Lich King Classic, where class abilities with a base cooldown of 2 minutes or more, with some exceptions such as Reincarnation, Ritual of Doom, Astral Recall, and Lay on Hands, will reset when an encounter ends. This is a fairly big change for Wrath Classic, and we didn't make it lightly, but the downtime between boss pulls during progression can be significant even without considering cooldowns. So this feels like a solid improvement to overall flow and time management within raids. Thank you is all I can say. I think that is a brilliant, brilliant change. Again, they are actually looking at things and making sensible changes, in my opinion. You know, there's been some that I've not agreed with, but this in particular, yeah, why not? It is a retail system where you wipe and then all the long cooldowns are reset, but it makes sense. Yeah, why do you want to stand around? Or why do you want to pull knowing that you can't kill the boss with Heroism? So it's either pull and have less of a chance of being able to kill that boss for the first time, or stand around waiting, potentially wipe, go back and have to wait again. So amazing change. That's really good news. And then when it comes to Exhaustion and Sated, which you get from Heroism or Bloodlust, where you can't receive the buff again, along with the adjustments above, we're also going to be implementing a complementary system where the Exhaustion and Sated debuffs caused by Heroism and Bloodlust will persist through death. but then will clear when the encounter ends along with the cooldown on the ability itself. This largely feels like it makes sense as part of the adjustment above, and also prevents degenerate behaviour where players may intentionally die to clear exhaustion or sated and benefit from multiple heroisms or bloodlusts in a single encounter. We hope you like the adjustments as always. Thank you so much for the feedback you provided on these and other issues during the Wrath of Lich King Classic Beta. Awesome. Yeah, I think really sensible changes. That not being able to retain buffs or enhance talent effects whilst changing spec, no-brainer. It should have been like that from the start, obviously, as in back in original Wrath. But, you know, they're nipping it in the bud now, which is great. You know, we don't need broken things or things that we know shouldn't work like that. If it's been reported as a bug as many times as I can imagine it as, obviously, a lot of people feel the same way, that it just shouldn't be happening. So that's a great change. And as for long cooldowns, no one wants to sit there after a boss fight. You know, you've wiped, and then you want to sit there waiting 5 minutes, or you say, oh, we'll have a quick break while we wait for, you know, cooldowns, and then when you do a ready check, 2 people still ain't come back. So then somebody else goes, oh, I'll be right back, going to the toilet. And then you're now waiting for another one. And it just goes on and on and on. Unless, obviously, that don't happen in your guild because you'll just kick them because they shouldn't be AFK. You really shouldn't be going AFK. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the update anyway. Great bit of news. I'm loving all these little minor changes. And I hope you are as well. So be sure to like and subscribe so you do not miss any more updates. And check out Rested XP. Link in the description and the pinned comment if you want to level really fast in the pre-patch and obviously in Wrath of the Lich King. In fact, probably the fastest way. Roll the outro. There's lots of ways you can support the channel to keep me here putting out World of Warcraft content and covering all future MMOs. Consider joining the channel as a member. You get access to emotes, everyone will know you're a member when you comment on future videos because you get a nice icon next to your name, and you get access to members-only videos, which I'll be putting a lot of on the channel throughout the year. Additionally, there's a Patreon link in the description as well. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you on the next one.